So welcome to another video in the Cuppa with the Jesuit series. I'm Father Robin Koning, the Provincial Assistant for Vocations, and I'm here in Melbourne at the Faber Jesuit Community.
And here is Robin. I'm Julian Butler. I'm a Jesuit student, and we're joined today by Fr Kieran Gill, who's in Adelaide. Fr Kieran is one of our most recently ordained Jesuits in the Australian province, ordained mid-last year. G'day, Kieran.
Hi, it's good to be with you.
And Kieran, have you got a cuppa with you?
I do, yeah.
Good on you.
Cup of coffee, yeah.
Excellent. Kieran, you're working at our school there at St Ignatius College in Adelaide. But before we get into a bit about your life, we're in this COVID-19 period and there's no sport on. I know you're a great follower of pretty much, I don't know any sport that you don't follow at national, state, district levels. How are you managing in this environment without any sport to watch or be involved in?
Well, that's a very good question. I noticed actually on Channel 10 News on Friday night in Adelaide, they were talking about school sport, maybe one of the first things to start up again as the hopefully restrictions get lifted here in SA. So yeah, looking forward to that. But I've just been, I watched some Netflix series and also, yeah, there's a chat group with a number of staff here at the school sharing like retro AFL videos and things like that.
Okay, retro AFL video, that's great. And just say roughly, briefly what your role is there, and then I'll hand over to Julian.
Sure, yeah. So I work at St Ignatius College. I live at the senior school and I work as a senior school teacher and chaplain at the senior school and also chaplain at the junior school. So I've got Year 7 home group and I teach religion, history and geography, legal studies. So shout out to my Year 7 home group if anyone's watching.
Fr Kieran, maybe you could start by telling us a bit about what attracted you to the society. I know, like me, prior to joining, you'd done a law degree, and I suppose a lot of people would think there was maybe a trajectory there that you maybe had in mind yourself. What was it that shifted that to that attraction to the Jesuits?
Sure, yeah. Well, there was no like bright lights on the road to Damascus like St. Paul, but it was a lot more subtle for me, the call to become a Jesuit and become a priest. I grew up in a Catholic family, but I didn't really know that much about the Jesuits until I was at university, and I just felt really inspired by the Jesuits I met, and also inspired by what I learned about like Jesuit spirituality, Jesuit mission, Jesuit history, and I got involved in the Jesuits young adult ministry, which was how I met Father Robin back in those days. And so yeah, I got to know a lot of Jesuits, but I got to learn, I guess, Jesuit ways of praying, and that my prayer life really started to grow. So that, and I started to receive spiritual direction as well. So that really helped me, I guess, to like listen to the call. I was inspired, I guess, by the Jesuit mission to go where the need is greatest and be a companion of Jesus. And those words in I think it's the 32nd General Congregation. What is it to be a Jesuit today? To know that one is a sinner and called to be a companion of Jesus, like St Ignatius was. So I really felt that, not like bright lights, but in a subtle way within me.
So you're not suggesting that St. Paul himself was a Jesuit, are you?
No, but I guess like he met the Lord, in a really radical way. Yeah, and it's very dramatic, in that account. So for me, it wasn't meeting Jesus in such a dramatic way, but a more subtle way. Yeah, I think a real encounter with Jesus.
We might mention at the start of your answer to this question how long ago that was, but then following on from that, further on in the journey, is it still the same things about the Jesuits that you love about Jesuit life, or has that shifted a bit as you've come to know more, or is it pretty much those same things of spirituality, being available for mission, some of those things you've mentioned?
Yeah, I think it is. I noticed you said in your interview, Father Robin, you had very romanticized or idealistic views when you joined. And probably a similar thing with me, but my love for the Society of Jesus and for the Church has deepened since I joined the Jesuits. So it is the same mission of the Jesuits that still inspires me. But yeah, as as each day, each year passes, you're growing. So yeah, you're kind of deepening your experience of what it is to be a Jesuit, and now, yeah, what it is to be a priest.
You mentioned, Father Kieran, that sense of encounter with Jesus. I wonder if you might tell us a bit about how that encounter is working in a school. What's that like, meeting Jesus in your current ministry?
Well, I love, one of Saint John Henry Newman's prayers. He talks about the fever of life, and has that phrase, fever of life. And I think, yeah, in a school, anyone who spends time in a school, it's the fever of life, So yeah, the last few weeks it's been a bit different online. So there's been the online dynamic and the online interaction, but yeah, in person or online, it's just, yeah, the fever of life and the enthusiasm of young people. Yeah, it's just, yeah, really engaging. Just people, children just really wanting to learn. Yeah, and having that enthusiasm for learning. Yeah, it's just really energizing for me.
And has this been the main ministry you've been involved in over the years? I mean, you've had the long formation, of course, but school's been the main thing you worked in?
In terms of, yeah, full-time ministry, that's been my main experience as a Jesuit. But yeah, I've worked in parishes as well. So I worked in a parish for 6 months before moving back to work here at St Ignatius College. In Boston, I worked in a parish sort of on weekends as a scholastic and then as a deacon. But yeah, I've had different experiences, I guess, working in a little bit in prison ministry and some young adult ministry, some spirituality ministries as well. But yeah, full-time ministry has mainly been in schools and yeah, a little bit in parishes too.
As I recall, I remember you talking very movingly about the parish experience in Boston. What that meant for you in the lead up as you were a deacon and your lead up to ordination. I think you have a memento there of that parish, don't you? And your Cuppa, yeah.
My cup, yeah, is from Our Lady of Grace in Chelsea, in the Archdiocese of Boston. So yeah, I'm keeping everyone in my prayers there, with the coronavirus. There's a lot of suffering, particularly in that part of the world. So yeah, praying for.
What were some of the things that moved you in that parish ministry? Very different in some ways from school ministry, but what?
Oh, I loved accompanying people in their experiences, and I was working in like the Sunday faith formation program for like children and teenagers. So yeah, teaching high school students who are preparing for confirmation as part of the parish's confirmation program. So yeah, I just got to know a lot of those families and yeah, got to support the young people there in their different endeavours. And also, yeah, liturgical ministry as well there in the parish. I worked with some great priests there. So yeah, it was just, yeah, a really good experience for me.
And it was a poorer area, I think you were saying, was it?
It was a different kind of neighbourhood to where I lived at Boston College. Like say the city of Chelsea, at the moment, there's been a lot of news reports about like food shortages and unemployment. So yeah, poverty is an issue there. Yeah, but people there are extremely generous.
Father Kieran, lots of the ministries that you're talking about, parishes, schools, prison chaplaincy, young adult ministry, they're very earthed experiences and very much being in the presence of others. I suppose at a time when people are maybe a little suspicious of people who are in religious life or people who are, as you are now, priests. How do you find that, the rub of being with people? How do you find yourself as a priest, as a religious, received by communities?
Yeah. Oh, I guess you get a whole range of various reactions from people. But I find, yeah, people, once you get to know people are generally good, yeah. So yeah, just try to be a faithful and merciful priest. Yeah. I think, people, yeah, respond well. Yeah, once they get to know you. It's like football, you bounce the ball and see how it goes, and then you just, yeah, relationships with people, yeah.
So you haven't lost all touch with sport at the moment. That's good. The analogies still flow. I think your main sporting team is called the Saints.
Yeah.
And you might want to say a bit about that, but also, are there any particular Jesuit saints that have inspired you, perhaps especially at times when you may have struggled or found things a bit difficult about Jesuit life or mission, and you've found inspiration in a particular saint?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly huge numbers of saints that inspire me and Jesuit saints. At the current time, I was praying a bit. I did my retreat from home actually in recent weeks during the school holidays, and I was doing video calls with my retreat director each day. And I prayed with St Joseph Pignatelli, who was the leader of the Jesuits during the suppression. So there was a whole lot of, I guess, political factors that sort of built upon each other, and eventually the Jesuits were suppressed in most places. Pignatelli was part of a group that was expelled from Spain, and they got on boats and went to seek refuge in Italy. So Pignatelli, that was in the 1760s, I think. Pignatelli, you know, he could have just walked away and just kept working as a priest in where he was in Spain, but he went with the Jesuits to help them and assume a role of kind of keeping the Jesuits together during that difficult time until, you know, a number of decades later into the new century, and the situation had changed and the Jesuits could be restored. And he really inspires me just in terms of his, determination, and that just he stepped up to lead the Jesuits in a very difficult time. He could have just walked away from the Jesuits, but he didn't. So yeah, he's someone who's kind of inspired me. Also, in terms of like the spirituality, I like, Saint Claude La Colombière, and, he's written a lot about the heart of Jesus and his prayers about the heart of Jesus. I use his prayers quite a lot. Saint Aloysius Gonzaga, of course, caring for the sick is someone that a lot of people have been reflecting on at the moment. But yeah, going all the way back to the early days of the Jesuits, Saint Peter Faber, Saint Francis Xavier, with Faber's, gentleness and gift for spiritual direction, discernment. Saint Edmund Campion and those martyrs, with their faithfulness.
Father Kieran, in talking about the saints that inspire you, one of the things that comes across strongly to me is a sense of a communion of saints, a community of saints. And the reason that Father Robin and I are able to be here together is because we live in a community together. And Jesuits very much live and are missioned into community. Something about what community has meant for you in your Jesuit life through formation and now in ministry.
Yeah, I've been blessed really to live, in different formation communities in Australia and in Boston, and to really share companionship with lots of young Jesuits from all over the world, going through formation and like growing together as young Jesuits. And in the last few years, being ordained deacon and ordained priest, starting ministry as a priest. Just sharing that companionship, has been really powerful. And I still keep in touch with a lot of my Jesuit friends in different parts of the world. Shout out to them if anyone sees this.
Yes, must be quite a few of them, because that Boston community is so international, isn't it, where you did your theology studies? Yeah,
so that gave us an experience of, the International Society of Jesus, living in a house with people from pretty much every continent. It was a wonderful experience,
So Father Kieran, from your own initial attraction and then those experiences in formation, in community, and now in ministry in a school, if you're asked advice by young men who might be interested in religious life or in the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits, what might you say to them?
Yeah, I'd say like pray, be brave, be courageous, trust in where the Lord's leading you. And spiritual direction is really important, I think, in that process. And also, being involved in the life of the church, receiving the Eucharist, attending Mass, receiving the sacraments, really being like nourished by the Lord through the sacraments. But don't be afraid, and find a good spiritual director, and praying. The Lord will lead you wherever he is leading you.
Thank you. I'm feeling encouraged by that. I might rejoin just to go through that again. But the other thing that's very helpful as we come to the end of this interview, I am the Provincial Assistant for Vocations, and that role has a range of aspects. One is obviously following through people who are particularly interested in the Jesuits, but Jesuits in general can help you discerning whatever your direction may be, to another sort of religious life, to married life, whatever it is, to some form of priesthood. It doesn't need to be about Jesuits, where a Jesuit can help you in that journey. So I encourage you in that on this World Day of Prayer for Vocations. Thank you very much, Father Kieran, for joining us today.
Thank you. Take care.